joining us today. We'll wait a minute or two just to give people time to join the webinar. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Al Benedict. I lead the technology tools at National RTAP, and I'm joined by Robin Phillips, RTAP's Executive Director, and our panelists, who I'll introduce in a minute here. Today we are going to talk about ProcurementPRO, a free web-based application that guides rural and tribal grantees and state DOTs through Federal Transit Administration procurement procedures. Using basic procurement information, project information entered by the user, the program provides the required FTA clauses and certifications that must be included in procurement documents. The tool also provides other helpful resources, such as procurement document templates and a checklist. Today's webinar, we will first learn a little bit about RTAP and what we do, and then we'll jump right into the ProcurementPRO overview and live demo of the tool. Before we begin, though, just a few housekeeping items. This recording and the slides will be available on National RTAP's website. If you have questions, please enter them in the Q&A box. We will have plenty of time at the end to answer questions and have a little discussion with our panelists, and we'd love to hear from you. And if you're having trouble with Zoom, please use the chat, and we'll try our best to help you work through any technical issues that you might be experiencing. And at the end of the webinar, there's a QR code. Please, we'd love to hear from you. There's a webinar survey. We really value everyone's opinion and really use that information to work to improve our resources. With that, I'll turn it over to Robin, who's going to give us a little overview of National RTAP.
Hey, well, thanks, everybody. As most of you know, procurement and procurement issues are at the top of the list of findings when people go for their state management reviews. And one of the things that we're trying to do is do everything we can to help you make that not happen, or to make them easily fixed. The ProcurementPRO resource has been calibrated, reviewed, and checked so that it is concurrent with the RTAP manual, which is used for reviews, the existing information that's that goes through the federal process and the letters, and we keep it updated almost in real time, thanks to Mike Labello. And that we're coordinated with all of these different aspects, and all of the questions that were not resolvable went to General Counsel. And so we're all, for the moment, all on the same page, FTA review and National RTAP. So National RTAP is a fully funded technical assistance center. FTA pays for everything, and that's why all of our information and resources are free. We are guided by a review board that has 7 state DOTs and 8 transit managers, including 1 tribal transit manager. We work with people. We try to have geographic representation and work with people around the country, because we're only as useful as we are relevant, and we're only as relevant as we are useful to you. So next slide. The resources we have are available for training, to provide information if you have questions, the technology tools like ProcurementPRO, the cost allocation calculator, which can help you get actual costs for your services by hour or by mile, website building to make sure that your customer service information is easily accessible and findable by your potential customers and your customers, and BPFS, so that you're able to comply with NTD, but also it is the launching pad for trip planning and supports engaging with higher level customer service. It's a great way to take advantage of all that energy you put into reporting. And peer networking. We meet with transit managers, state program managers, intercity mobility management. Uh, uh, Throughout the year, we have quarterly or half yearly meetings to talk about issues that are coming up and help us, as Al said, really respond to what's going on the ground in as much real time as possible. And please, if you have something that's causing you to stay awake at night, or just you're not sure about exactly what's happening, just give us a call. Kara is our main information triage person, and if she's not able to answer it, we'll make sure that either one of us or someone appropriate is able to get to your question. Thank you. Next slide. There we go. Go, Al.
All right. Well, thanks, Robin. And so, the presenters today, myself, and I'll be moderating the session along with Robin, and we'll kind of co-lead things. I lead the National RTAP's technology tools and the Community Rides Grant Program that we recently launched. There's information about it on our website. And I'm joined by Mike Labello, who is the managing partner of Main Street Connections, a public transportation consulting firm based in upstate New York. He brings over 3 decades of experience and a background in civil engineering to advance collaborative, technology-driven mobility solutions across agencies. Mike has also contributed to the federal procurement innovation and the development of the ProcurementPRO tool that we're talking about today. Mike is going to provide us with some procurement tactics to help us better understand the procurement process. Next, we'll be followed by Celine Muldowney Stratton, and she brings over 17 years of experience in publishing, writing, and marketing, complemented by her roles as writer, journalist, and publisher of 4 books in an international magazine. Celine currently serves as the Marketing and Communications Officer for Island Transit. Celine is going to offer her perspective as a user of ProcurementPRO and how she's been able to use it in her work. And finally, Eric Dickey, he's the support specialist at National RTAP, where he provides technical assistance for a range of programs, including e-learning platform, website builder, and key technology tools such as ProcurementPRO and the GTFS Builder. Eric is going to give us a live demo of the tool. And following the presentations and the live demonstration, we'll have time for questions. So again, please, if anything comes to mind, please use the Q&A to record your question. Kicking things off will be Mike. He's going to give us some tactics.
Thanks, Al. Welcome, everyone. Well, this slide is titled Procurement Tactics, but you can really call it anything you want. Call it actions, events, activities. Could be steps, could be procedures. Essentially, what it's about is the progression of a project. The project starts as an idea. Eventually, a decision is made to move it forward. You develop and lead a solicitation. You have an evaluation process. You award a vendor. And of course, you implement the project. So to really jump into the tactics, let's go through these one by one. So our first one here, identify needs and funding source. This is prior to the procurement. This is when you're thinking about the project. You're looking to clarify what you're buying, determine what federal funds will be used, define the scope of the project, what costs are eligible. Federal funds aren't always eligible for a project. Verify the funds are available, such as 5307 or 5311 funds. The next task, conduct an independent cost estimate. Here you're looking to estimate the cost before reaching out to vendors. This kind of determines a ballpark price and sets expectations for the funding. The next step is preparing clear and complete solicitation. Here you're going to choose your procurement method. You might choose a invitation for bid. It might be a request for proposals or a piggyback. Now, what type of method are you going to use for this particular solicitation? As you're writing the solicitation, you want to avoid limiting competition. That is a no-no for FTA. An example of limiting competition would be putting brand names in your solicitation. That by its very nature would allow certain firms the project scope or specifications that are applicable. An invitation for a bid or an RFP.
Mike, your
Yes.
audio is cutting out just a bit. And I don't know if we're.
Testing. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. We can hear you now.
I think if you stay closer to the mic, it'll help. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that. So again, you want to include your FTA provisions, your federal clauses and certifications. You want to write a clear scope and specifications. You want to include the evaluation factors and other contract terms in your development of the solicitation. Next tactic, you're looking to publicly advertise and solicit bid proposals. This ensures fair and open competition, another requirement of the FTA, and it also allows you to distribute fairly and with adequate response time. The next tactic is to conduct pre-proposal conference. This isn't necessary, but it's a good practice. It allows you to answer vendor questions and clarify requirements. It also helps reduce confusion. The next tactic is evaluating the responses based on the stated criteria. You wrote an RFP that had evaluation factors in it. So now you're going to score these proposals based on using the methods and the qualifications and past performance and costs or whatever it may be that was built into your solicitation. You want to document the evaluation, and it should be documented in line with the criteria documented in the solicitation. Next task is to perform a responsibility determination, another requirement the FTA expects you to do and they will look for. Really, all you're doing here is you're verifying that the selected vendor is responsible. You'll check to make sure they're not debarred in SAM.gov. You'll look to see if they have the capacity to perform and have a satisfactory record of integrity and performance to bring the project to fruition. The next task is to conduct a cost or a price analysis. This is where you assess whether the price is fair and reasonable, and it further helps you justify the award. Then the next task is document, selection, and award. Here you're going to draft a justification for the award. A memo or a letter is fine. Why you selected a vendor, how the decisions align with the evaluation criteria. This is all documentation that's going to be necessary down the road. Next, you'll conduct an executed contract with the required federal clauses included. You want to include the required federal clauses and certifications. You want to include the contract requirements, timelines, reporting requirements, invoicing, etc. The contract is an enforcement tool. That's very important to understand. So your expectations should be clearly outlined in it. Otherwise, you're going to have trouble enforcing the requirements of the project. Another option is to reattach or include by reference the original solicitation. This tends to bring along all the enforcement requirements that were built into your solicitation in the first place. Always recommended you have a signed contract before you begin work. The next task, maintain complete procurement file history. Documented procurement history is an FTA requirement. It should include such items as the independent cost estimate, the original solicitation, the rationale for the method you selected. If you selected a request for proposals, what was your methodology behind that? It should include the responses or the proposals that you received, the evaluation that was performed based on your evaluation factors in your solicitation. It should include your responsibility determination that you drafted. It should include the price and cost analysis. It should include justification for the award. The signed contract, of course, is always useful to have in there, and any post-award documents that might have been signed. For instance, if you purchased a vehicle, you should have a signed Buy America certification within your procurement history. It's important that these projects, since they're federally funded, may be reviewed by the FTA and they're trying to review or state management review. So how you document everything will make that review that much easier. And for the subrecipients on the call, while you are not directly reviewed, you might fall into a state management review in which they select a half a dozen or so subrecipients to go visit during a state management review. The next and last topic is the administration of the contract and monitoring the performance. While the procurement is over, you're looking to ensure that project delivery, invoicing, and scope is performed and within compliance of what you expect. The recipient or subrecipient is responsible for overseeing vendor performance, addressing delays, approving invoices, and ensuring deliverables match the contract. So while these tactics outlay the progression of a project from start to finish, everything about it in a review is subject to request for producing that information. So those are the tactics of a project. I'll turn it back over to you, Al.
Well, thank you, Mike. And we'll have time to kind of circle back to that, and after hearing from Celine and the demo from Eric, how those tactics, would love to hear the questions, how those tactics then apply to using Procurement Pro. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to turn it over to Celine, who's going to offer a user perspective and how Procurement Pro has been able to help her work.
Good morning, afternoon, everyone, depending on where you're coming from. Al, thank you for the introduction. I'm the Marketing Communications Officer with Island Transit, and I want to welcome everybody to the webinar. This is definitely your first step in learning how to use all the fantastic tools that RTAP has to offer. Mike did an amazing job outlining all of the what do you need to do, and I'm certain that all of you are looking at it thinking, oh my God, I need to have a copy of all of these slides. Where do I start? Where do I go? And it really it's just as simple as going to RTAP. It's not really that simple, but it is simple to going to RTAP, and all you have to do is follow their guidance. They have everything you need. They've got all the procurement checklists, the templates, the reference materials that he's talking about. And that way you don't get lost along the way. Everything follows federal FTA procurement rules. They explain everything along the way. They determine all the procurement thresholds, just like Mike explained. And it all starts with an idea. Mine started with a rebranding project. I had no idea what I was doing and no clue how to write an RFP or an RFQ. And I couldn't even tell you what the difference of those were. And it was great because I went onto the RTAP site, looked it up, Google searched it. I got a little bit confused, called Kara, like everyone. Kara is an amazing resource, and she led me to the right place. Looked it up, and like I said, it starts with a checklist. And just like Mike said, you've got all of these steps that you have to do along the way. Just follow the steps, and those steps are all listed. With the rebranding project, it was so complicated. I had not done a rebrand before for a large agency. We're a rural agency, which is just as complicated. We needed to do design, printing, vehicle wrap, signage, and all the marketing materials. And I wasn't sure, who do I start with? Where do I go? But like Mike said, I had an idea, and the idea was a rebranding project. So Procurement Pro offers you this list where you start with, what is your idea? And you answer the questions as you go along. Everything is delineated in order. And if you get stuck along the way, they will answer the question. You can ask them through their support button. You can contact Kara. You can contact any one of the awesome support folks with RTAP, and they will lead you to the right document. It's all spelled out. And truly, for somebody like me who had never done this before, I felt so confident at the end of it. I felt like I had understood the process, and I could explain the process to someone else. That's how detailed the information is. That's really important that you follow these processes. Some of you guys are here because you either don't have a procurement officer, or perhaps you're just starting in down that road, or you want to learn more, which is really important because you want to continue your learning, but you really want to risk any compliance issues. The state auditors really like to hammer procurement, any kind of procurement projects. You want to get the paperwork right, ask the right questions, follow up with everything. The other thing that that they had mentioned as well is the GTFS, and maybe some of you are here for that as well. GTFS, we have to follow the NTD standards, but you also want to be able to have accurate information on your routing. Maybe GTFS is new to some of you guys, which is also included in the Procurement Pro package on the website. GTFS is the standard for how Google Maps finds you online and lets your riders, your stakeholders know how to find you. And it's extremely complicated, I'm not going to lie. And you walk through this process and you're thinking, what am I looking at? It's a bunch of numbers, it's a bunch of letters, it's a bunch of GPS coordinates. It's fantastic tool that if you don't understand it and you don't apply it to your agency, which is legally required, then you miss out, and you can get in trouble. But the RTAP has full classes on it. I actually took my first class on GTFS with them. They've got great panelists that teach it. And, you know, we're not here today to teach you how to use the tools, but let you know that those tools exist. I highly encourage everyone to just go check it out. Cruise through through the website. I mean, it's fantastic. Again, the GTFS tool is something that you really have to follow up with. You want to make sure that you're compliant, and you want to make sure that you give your rider experience the best experience they can have. If I want to get from point A to point B, I need to be able to find you as a transit agency. I want to find your bus routes, and going and having GTFS updated and having that information online, and they'll walk you through that process. You will be able to then let your riders know that you actually have bus service in that area. And I think that's my big hurrah for RTAP. I highly encourage you guys to look at all of the paperwork that they have. And like Mike said, it's a long process. It really is. But it's not complicated once you take each bite at a time. So don't eat the whole sandwich, you know, just eat bites at a time. That's it from me.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you,
Thanks.
Celine, and also for the Procurement Pro, how you've used it, but for the, you know, just the insights on GTFS, and we're actually in the process of planning a webinar series for that, and at our national conference, just where we'll have a whole workshop on GTFS and one-on-one attention. So for all of the tools, for the RTAP tools. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Eric, who's going to share his screen and give us a live demo of the tool, and then we'll come back for Q&A.
Thank you, Al. I appreciate it. And thank you as well, Celine, for those kind words and that information about GTFS as well. We'll kind of briefly touch upon that in my demo. So my name's Eric. If you ever reach out to the support agent, which I will just briefly say you can find very easily at the top of our nationalrtap.org website, more than likely you'll either be speaking with me or Kara. So it's great to kind of informally meet everyone. Whenever we're ready, go to nationalrtap.org, and then you're going to hover your mouse over our main menu, over the resources, and then look for Procurement Pro on the right-hand column. We're going to click on it, and it will open our Procurement Pro page. We have two pages on our website. The first page is a brief introduction into Procurement Pro. Tells you a little bit about Procurement Pro, and you'll see a blue button you can click on to access our cloud. We'll be coming back to that in just a moment. As you scroll down, you'll see there are two different versions of Procurement Pro. There's a Procurement Pro and there's a Quick Pro. The Procurement Pro is going to give you all applicable document, clauses, checklists, certifications, whereas the Quick Pro is designed to be more of the clauses and the certifications that applies to your project. We also have a state portal. If anyone is interested in this, we do encourage you to reach out to us. This is something we will help you set up. And it allows you to add any clauses, certifications, and documentation specific to your state. So you may have some different regulations that you have to go through. The state portal can be great for that. Otherwise, with Procurement Pro, you're going to be following the FTA and federal guidance. Then at the bottom of this page, we have the National RTAP Procurement Pro support. You can click on this and it will take you to our Procurement Pro support page, but you can also find this in the left-hand side navigation. You'll see we have an instructional webinar video. This is an older one. We will be including this newer webinar and we'll be updating the page to include that. We have a brief introduction to Procurement Pro. It's about an 8 to 9 minute video that will briefly walk you through it. Very similar to what our demo will go through today. And then as you continue to go down this page, it contains wonderful information. So kind of as Celine had touched upon it, this is something you have never done before. We don't expect you just to know all this stuff. So for instance, the procurement types. It's going to give you a definition of the procurement type, and it will also give you examples. So that kind of helps you to narrow down what procurement type you may need. As we continue to scroll down the page, we also have procurement thresholds. So there's different cost thresholds that will show different clauses, different certifications, and different procurement methods. So you can kind of find out a little bit more information about these along with those actual thresholds as well. And then we also include the procurement methods. So similar to the procurement types above, when you click to open this, it will give you a definition along with a bunch of examples to help you narrow down even further what procurement method you should be using. So definitely reference this page a lot as you go through the Procurement Pro process. It will greatly help you, especially if you're newer to doing a procurement. As we continue to scroll down, it gives you a little bit more example about the state portal. And then we contain sample checklists. So you can actually download these checklists and make use of them as needed. And then we have the frequently asked questions. If there's any questions you may not see asked here or answered here, please always feel free to reach out to us. We're always happy to help and answer any questions you may have. Last couple things on this page, any related links that we may have, and the additional support. So again, you can find more information at the top of our page of ways to reach out to us, or you can just fill out this form and it will come directly to us. We'll be happy to follow back up with you via email. Whenever you're ready, whether you're on that first Procurement Pro page or you're on this Procurement Pro support page, you'll scroll back up to the top and look for this Access Procurement Pro button. Click on this and it opens our cloud account. Now, if you already have a username and password, easy enough, you can just log in here. One thing I do want to note, our e-learning, our cloud platform, and our resource share platform are 3 separate logins. So if you may have a login for one of the, let's say, e-learning, that login will not work with the cloud platform. So you will just have to create an account for the cloud as well. So if you don't have one, look for this nice little phrase underneath the reset password button. If you don't have an account, you'll need to create one. Click on this purple create an RTAP account hyperlink, and it will bring you to our sign up page. Now, the first thing I recommend to do on this sign up page, look for your organization. So let's just try National RTAP. Helps if you spell it correctly. So we can see right here, we have National Rural Transit Assistance Program. That's the one that I want to join. So I'll just click on it. And now you can click on this green Join This Organization button. From here, it allows you to create your own personal account. We recommend that everyone has their own personal account. Procurement will stay inside of each person's account. So if you have an account for the organization, then it's going to stay under that one account. If you have 5 accounts for your organization, then each account will have their own procurements. Once you create your account, you can then log in and begin creating a procurement. Now, let's assume that maybe your organization has not signed up before. So you're typing it out and okay, maybe we don't see it here in this list. What you'll want to do is then click on the green Create More Organization button. And from here, you'll enter your organization information first. You can upload your logo. It will just include it on the document that's produced at the end of the procurement. You can even choose the different color palette you may want to be shown. And then once you're done creating your organization, it will then route you to that user personal account creation page. So what we had just seen before. After that, it will then route you back to the login page. So from there, you'll just log into your account and you'll see a couple of different options here. So again, at the top, a couple of great ways to reach us with any questions you may have. Whenever you're ready to do a procurement, you'll click on the Procurement Pro tile. And if you've already created your GTFS document and maybe you need to upload it for a stable URL, you can click on the GTFS builder. It will allow you to upload that document. And then once you're done, it will provide you a stable URL that you can then add to your website or provide to anyone that may need access to those GTFS files. Now today we're going to do the Procurement Pro, so we'll click on Procurement Pro. So we'll kind of start at the top. Top left, Procurement Pro 2.0. And then on the right-hand side, you can click back to dashboard to take you back to your main dashboard. In the middle, you'll see a little statement right here that says Procurement Pro was last updated on 5/13/2025. We regularly do update Procurement Pro with any new guidance, clauses, certifications, any updates or changes they may have made. So if you ever have any questions on when we last updated it, just look in the middle of your screen for that last updated date. Always feel free to reach out to us as well. On the left-hand side, you have new projects. So whenever you're ready to start your project, you'll click on the new project button. In the middle, you have active and archived. Once you create a Procurement Pro project, you can't delete it, but you can archive it. And in the beginning, I recommend creating as many as you'd like to. It's one of the best ways to get familiar with our system. So kind of go in there, create your own test project, go through the Procurement Pro process and get familiarized. If you don't want it to show on your main screen, you'll click on the archive button and then it will take it to this archive section. So all your active ones are all the ones that you have showing as active, and any that you archive will show as archived. On the right-hand side, download all federal clauses. If you click on this button, it will download a document that contains all federal clauses. Now, I do just want to say not everyone's browser will open these files directly in the browser window. It may open it in a program like Adobe or anything secondary. This is just how my computer is set up. As we go through it, we see all the clauses in our system are contained here. So if you just want to have a copy of every federal clause we have, please make use of this button. It will be very useful for you. Makes it easier to find as well. Now that we're ready, we're going to click on the green New Project button. So we have to put in a title. So I'm just going to say National RTAP Test. We have to put in a description. So webinar test. And then we have to choose who will be funding this project. We'll choose federal government almost always. Now, if you do have a state portal set up, and let's just say you're located in North Carolina and you have a state portal set up, you would see that option as well. If there's not a state portal set up for your state, then you'll just see federal government. Your procurement type. So again, these are not things we expect you to know off the top of your head. So you'll see on the right-hand side, there's an example and a help button. If you click on the examples, it takes you back to our Procurement Pro support page and gives you a little bit more information about those different procurement types, the threshold, and the method. For today, we're going to choose materials and supplies. Now the cost of our project, we'll do $150,000. And once we enter that cost, different procurement methods will be available. So you'll see the first three are grayed out and not available, whereas the last three are options to select. So you select it, and then if you're ready, you'll click on the Procurement Pro or Quick Pro button. Now, I do want to show you, let's say we change this threshold to be in the higher threshold. You can now see that competitive quotation was grayed out, but the first two options, invitation for bid and request for proposal, are now options for us. The Procurement Pro, when we click it, it's going to take us through the full procurement process. So it's going to show us about 8 different tabs. We'll have editable checklist, editable documents, contains all your clauses and certifications as well. The Quick Pro, if you click on it, it's just going to quickly produce a document for you within about 30 seconds to a minute that will just contain the clauses and certifications that apply to this project. So they will apply specifically to the information you're entering on this page. I always recommend for a user to go through the full procurement just to get every document you may need, but if you're just needing those clauses and certifications, just start with the Quick Pro. After you've done a full procurement, you still will have that option for a Quick Pro as well. That's why I would typically recommend a user just to go through the procurement, because you'll have both of those options at the end. We start with our first page, the cover sheet. So it pulls in our information from that page we were just on, as well as our account information and organization information. The next page, the table of contents, it just covers what each tab is. And we'll start with tab 1, Introduction and Instructions. It just gives us a brief introduction to Procurement Pro and a little bit of the terms of use as well. When we go to the next page, tab 2, this will be our first checklist. So as I had said, these are editable. So you can go ahead, put in your information. Let's see, today's the 24th. And when you're done at the end of the procurement process, you'll be given the option to download a document, and any information that you enter here will be placed on those forms in the document as well. So if you're someone who maybe you don't have the best handwriting, or you just find it easier to enter the information here, I recommend it. It contains everything you need at the end, and it's less that you'll have to do by hand later on. We'll click next. We'll go to tab 3, project information. Again, you can edit this document here and enter all the information you'd like to. And now let's just say you've gotten to a point and you need to stop for the day. Maybe you got to go work on something else. Click on the Save and Close button, and it will take you back to this main page. When you come back, you'll just find which is your document you need to edit. We can see this one is in progress, and I'm going to click on this Edit button. And now I remember where we were, so we're just going to click back to tab 3, and we can continue to begin adding all the information that we'd like to add. So it's one of those things that as you go through it, there's a good chance you might get pulled away from it. Just save and close it out, and you can come back to it later on and continue to go through the procurement process. We're on tab 4 now. So this first part of tab 4, the solicitation development checklist, FTA clauses and certifications. So the checklist comes first. You'll probably hear me say the word checklist a lot today. We contain a lot of checklists, so definitely make use of them as needed. The next one, the clauses. So this is just going to list out every clause that will be included for your Procurement Pro. If you want to view them, here's a great place to view them. But again, at the very end of the procurement process, you will be given a document that will have all this information for you. You can click on the preview button and it just gives you a little preview of them right in the middle of your screen. And you also have the option to print. So if maybe you just wanted to print this from here, you're more than welcome to. The next one, certification. So this is a drop down. Now, not every procurement is going to have certifications that apply to them. So if you do not see anything in the drop down, that just means there's no documents that apply to your procurement. So click through them, add in your information, and then once you're done, you can move on to the next tab. Supporting documents, same thing here. Not every procurement will include supporting documents. So just click through, add your information, and then move on to the next tab, tab 5. Tab 5, another checklist. So here's another great checklist to make use of, the solicitation and bid opening checklist. Select what you need to, and then move on. And again, maybe you'll save and close, and maybe you'll come back later and select more options. And then we have the cost and price analysis. So this procurement does include a cost and price analysis. Same thing as I said previously, not all drop-downs will include documents for you to make use of. Tab 6, our project award and contract administration checklist. Another checklist for you to make use of. And then once you're done, you'll move on to the next page. We're getting close towards the end, and hey, another checklist, a progress report checklist. So this one, I've actually had a few users reach out to me and say this has been very helpful to use, especially some of these documents towards the end. It tries to really walk you through each process and make sure you're covering it and you're checking off everything on your list, so that you're not skipping something. Again, if you're new to this process, it may be something you've not gone through before. So this will really help to walk you through everything and make sure you're covering everything as you get towards the end of your procurement and project. Tab 8, Project Closeout Checklist. So another great checklist. This one's going to help you to close out your project, make sure you're covering everything. The first one, like making sure you're doing your reimbursement, making sure you're finalizing your milestones, and just anything physical you may need to close out. The reimbursement checklist, just quickly going through, just making sure you're covering everything, crossing your T's, dotting your I's, making sure that anything that may need to be reimbursed has not been missed throughout that process. And then the last part of this Procurement Pro process, the post-delivery certification checklist. Now, this one does not include the post-delivery certification checklist. So this is a great example of a document or a procurement that does not include a document. So from here, we know once you're done, you can just click on the download document button. Now, typically when you go through the full Procurement Pro process, this will take about a minute to 2 minutes. It can depend on your internet. If you do have a little bit slower internet, then it may take a little bit longer. So just be patient with it. You'll just have to wait until this screen in the middle, this little pop-up, it will show a download button. And then from there, you can download the full procurement and you can review it or send that off to whoever it may need to be sent off to. The nice thing about this is once you're done, we keep historical data. So what that means is, let's say you started a project today, and then maybe a year from now you come back to this project. Well, we retain the clauses, the certifications, checklist, etc. that applied at the time that you created the project. So if you ever need to go back and get these documents, you'll have what applies then. So maybe we update procurement in December this year, but you come back in January, you're going to get the clauses, certifications, and checklists that were applicable at the time that you created this project. So it's a lot of great information. We want to make sure that we contain everything that was applicable and that we're not updating and changing things for any of those current projects. Now, past that point, if it's been updated, then anything that you create past that point will have that new data included within it. So if you create a new project past the point of update, then that will have any new clauses, certifications, checklists that we may have updated with. Once we're done with this, I'm also going to show you the Quick Pro as well to show you that you can download that document easily too. So if maybe you're just wanting to get a document with those clauses and certifications, you will have that ability as well. So we're going to just hang tight for about 30 seconds to a minute just so we can get this download. You don't want to refresh your screen during this time because you will have to go back and request that download again. So as it's doing this, as it's processing these documents for you, just leave your web browser open. You can always open a new tab and do anything further you may need to do on your computer. You just want to make sure you're not closing out of the tab that is currently processing the document for you, or you will just have to go and download that again. Here we go, perfect. So now that it's done, we click on the download document. It's going to give us the option to choose a name for it, and then we'll save it. Again, my web browser is set up that it's going to open these files inside the web browser. Yours may not be set up that way. It may open onto a program on your computer. As I'm clicking through this, you'll notice that it's actually organizing this by the way you entered the information. So the process you entered it, tab 1, tab 2, tab 3, you will follow the same process throughout this document. We can see right here, this is some of the information I entered manually. So it automatically adds any information in there from what I checked off or what I manually added. So this will be a wonderful document to refer back to, or just print off and provide to whoever you may need to provide it to. As we scroll down, we get into those clauses and certifications as well. Now, if you just need that Quick Pro, we can find this completed document and click on Quick Pro. And again, it takes about 30 seconds to a minute or so, but this will only give you those applicable clauses and certifications. So all those checklists, all those extra information included in the full procurement, you will not get in this documentation. So when you're providing a procurement to someone, I encourage you, make sure you provide the full procurement with them and not just the clauses and certifications, unless that may be what they requested. So here we go. This is just the clauses and certifications for the procurement you just ran. So a couple of great options in here for creating a procurement, the Procurement Pro and the Quick Pro. I'm going to turn it over really quick and we'll open it up to some questions and answers.
Thank you, Eric. It was a great demo. I invite the other panelists if you're able to turn your cameras on. We do have a few questions, and we got a few questions that were submitted earlier too. So we'll kind of go through those, but please use the Q&A or the chat, I guess is fine too, to submit your questions that you might have. So to get things started though, you kind of touched on the different categories, Eric and Mike. How can an agency understand what category to use, such as architecture and engineering or construction? And what if a procurement involves multiple categories? How does someone decide which is the appropriate category to use?
Well, certainly they could go to that start page that Eric referenced in his beginning of his presentation. But essentially, if you're looking at the procurement type, there are several procurement types to look at. So you got professional services. If you're looking at this, you're probably hiring perhaps an accounting firm or legal firms, consultants, projects of that nature. That would fall into professional services. If you're into architectural and engineering type of project, you're looking to qualify firms that require compliance with engineering and design standards. So some of this stuff is a little bit more complex, and qualification-based procurements require that you qualify them first before you start negotiating price. There's a subtle difference between architectural and engineering. It's kind of essentially architecture focuses on design and aesthetics, how they look, how they feel, function, where engineering is more technical and structural, and have to adhere to engineering principles. So, architects design vision, engineers make that vision work. That's essentially the difference there. You also have rolling stock. So if you're utilizing rolling stock, you're purchasing buses or rail cars, possibly service vehicles, things of that nature. If you're procuring for operations, you're probably looking to secure a service provider, dispatch help, maintenance services, things like that. Construction obviously is pretty self-explanatory. You might be building a new facility, might be doing roof repair, you might be doing shelter installation, things of that nature. And material and supplies also kind of self-explanatory. Purchasing stock tires, for when you need them, or computers for the offices, or just general office supplies. Those are the type of things that you would look at when you're starting up procurement. What is it that you're buying? Where does it fall within those various procurement types? Is that helpful?
Great. Yeah, no, it's great. That's really helpful. The questions are pouring in now, so I'll try to go through them. And if we don't have time to address all the questions today, the questions that question answer document will be posted to the website as well, and we'll do our best to answer all of them, if not today. Posting it alongside the webinar. A question came in that someone thought that the procurement threshold recently increased to 50,000 for micro purchase. Looking at the National RTAP website, it's still showing 10,000. Someone's just asking for clarification on that.
It did increase to 50,000. It's a local decision. You would have to justify it, and you would have to get FTA approval. By increasing the micro purchase to less than 50,000, obviously the current amount is 10,000 or less is a micro purchase. So if you increase it to 50,000, you have to get FTA approval.
Okay. Okay. So thank you, and I hope that clears things up. And the other question we have, if somebody has a renovation project coming up and they want to use local funds for it, they're curious if they still need to follow the state procurement guidelines. And is there any way to set up or if it's the state portal that we have as well, is that helpful for them in that situation?
They're only using local funds?
It sounds like they're using local funds, yeah.
I don't know why the state would require them to adhere to anything, but that would certainly be a question for the state, not for National RTAP.
Okay. Another question, this is a longer one. Sorry. So somebody receives 5311 and 5339 funding. They purchase all their supplies from any place that they can get it immediately. They don't have contracts that go out for bids, and the different purchases are covered by purchase orders and are anywhere between 10 and $4,500. These are all micro purchases. Do they need to send the certs and clauses to the different vendors?
If it's under 10,000 and doesn't involve construction, there would not be a clause that would be
Okay.
generated.
Okay. Here's another question here. If an agency is purchasing a bus through a state contract, is a separate procurement process required?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Oh, if an agency is purchasing a bus through a state contract, is a separate procurement process required?
Yeah, so the agency purchasing off of the state contract is utilizing federal funds. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, yes, that would be similar to a piggyback, where they're purchasing off of a state contract. So in that scenario, they would have to verify a few things. One, they would have to secure the original solicitation the state put out. They would review that. What they're looking for here is to make sure that it met federal requirements, because the state procured it doesn't mean they're procuring it with federal funds in mind. So it would have to have met federal procurement requirements to be eligible to be piggybacked off of. Let's assume it is. So you would request the right to option off that contract from the state or whatever organization it is. They would give you some approval in writing or in an email. You obtain the original solicitation so you can review it. Some of the things you're looking for in that solicitation, did it have an assignability clause within that solicitation? That's letting that solicitation assign those options to somebody else.
Okay.
Did it have signed certifications? Did it have the required federal clauses associated with it? Were the piggyback quantities outlined in the procurement? So in other words, it's a state contract. They might have an indefinite quantity saying you can buy as many or as few as you want for the duration of the contract. If it is an indefinite quantity contract, it would almost likely say that in there. That because you're exercising an option, so the options have to be available.
Okay. You know, somebody had a follow-up question too. And if our website, using the piggyback example, if it's, I can't recall if it's on the informational page, but if not, that would be something that we will certainly look to adding some more information about that on the RTAP website.
Right.
That's a good question. I think, okay, so if the state wants to get started, and what special requirements, this will be the last question. We didn't get a chance to review them all, but we will follow up, and we will post the questions and answers on the website, and we'll send an email out to the people that registered to this webinar specifically so that you'll know when those are up there. But setting up the state portal, what's required? Just kind of, and we are going to host a webinar on the state portal itself, but what's required to get started, and what should the state be looking for?
You want me to field that one, Eric?
Oops,
I'm
you
sorry,
muted, Eric.
if you don't mind really quick,
Sure.
I got a support thing from Marcy. She's having trouble with Zoom, so I'm just
That's
trying
fine.
to answer her really
So
quick.
if the
Okay.
state is looking to start their own portal, they're going to want to understand the state requirements. state thresholds. So your thresholds may be more strict than federal thresholds, and the state portal does allow us to build in your thresholds so that the tools react based on your numbers as well. You're going to want to know if you have any state provisions that you want to include, such as state clauses and certifications. If there's any other state supporting documentation that you think is helpful for the end user, your own state checklists and so on, you'd want to gather that stuff up. If there are any checks and balances that is required from the state, in other words, you may have a contract division or contract bureau that would have to acknowledge what you're doing and sign off on it. Perhaps it's a procurement officer at the state level. So you just certainly want to go through any checks and balances. The benefit, of course, is that if you have a procurement that's including federal money, and as a state, there's often some type of match or state first instancing the dollars to start the procurement in the first place, which would require their clauses and certifications at the state level also be included in the solicitation.
Well,
This allows you to do everything all at once.
Well, that's great. I think all the questions that came in, I think there's obviously a need. there's an interest, I should say. And so I think, maybe the next, in addition to hosting a webinar on the state portal, maybe we can think about having some sort of working group where it's just more of a Zoom atmosphere where people can, have the opportunity to ask questions. And so we'll think through that here, and we'll share information moving forward. But in the meantime, we will answer these questions, and we'll follow up via email to the registered attendees and post them to the website as well. Real quick, we have to close. But just some upcoming events. Here on the left side, there's some events, and the information is available on our website. And then we also have information about our conference coming up, and that's in Austin in December. And we encourage everyone to come, and we'll be talking about procurement as one of the topics as well. I'd like to thank our speakers for joining us and sharing their expertise. Eric for the demo, Mike for the procurement, and Celine. It's really great to hear the user perspective. And Robin, we have a minute, if you have any words to kind of close things up.
Well, no, this is great, and I really would encourage you. It looks like there's latent demand for answers to questions around procurement, and are around all the time. So please call Eric, please call Kara, and they'll triage to Mike Labello if we're not able to answer immediately. And don't wait for us to have a webinar. You can call us anytime, and you can ask us questions anytime. So thanks so much, everyone, for joining us. And please give us your ideas as well for what the next webinar should be about. I mean, I think Al has brought it up that we need to have some more question and answer, and walking through maybe some examples of procurements to have some first you do this and this and this and different types, because if you're buying a vehicle, that's different than getting an expert to do your planning, to hire a planning firm, or to buy paper. Or get your fuel contracts in place. So please give us your ideas, and we'll be talking about this a whole lot more. Thanks.
Thank you. And thank you, Kara, too, for helping out with the chat. I really appreciate it throughout the webinar. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. And we'll follow up. Bye now.